Hello there. My name is Dr. Robert Ellis. I'm 70 years old this year. I no longer rush through hospital corridors or pull all-nighters at the clinic. But I still listen, I still remember, and perhaps most importantly, I still care. After decades of walking alongside patients, families, and fellow physicians, I've come to realize something that no medical textbook ever taught me. There is no prescription for regret. Growing older doesn't happen in a moment. It unfolds slowly, like twilight easing in at the end of a long day. And with it, it carries away strength, clarity, and, more quietly, opportunities we thought we had more time for. Many of life's most important lessons didn't hit me in my 30s as 40. No, they came later, when I could no longer run after what I once delayed, when the tomorrows I counted on became fewer and quieter. Now, I'm not here to complain. I'm here to share, because if you're in your 50s, your 60s, or even close to where I am now, there are things I wish someone had whispered to me before the clock moved too far ahead. And that's what I want to do for you today. What follows are 5 life truths, hard-earned, gently spoken. Some may challenge you, but all of them, I hope, will wake something up inside you. So come with me. Let's sit down, quietly, like old friends. And I'll tell you what time has taught me, before you find out the hard way. 1. If there's one truth I wish I had grasped earlier, it's this: time doesn't wait for your readiness. It doesn't send warnings. It doesn't ask for permission. It just moves, softly, constantly, like a tide that seems harmless, until you realize the shoreline has changed. In your 50s or even 60s, it's easy to believe there's still plenty of time, and in many ways there is. You can still walk unassisted. Your mind still feels sharp. You still feel young enough to delay the deeper questions. But here's the quiet trick time plays on all of us. It doesn't just take your years, it slowly narrows your choices. By the time you look back, you're not deciding between 5 roads. You're simply trying to keep walking the one path that's still open to you. I think often of my old friend Daniel. At 62, he dreamed of building a small art studio behind his house, something peaceful just for himself, after a lifetime of caring for others. Every time I asked about it, he smiled and said, "Next year, after the grandkids graduate, after we finish the renovations." But the next year came and went. Then his knees began to fail. Then his wife got sick. Then the back pain wouldn't let him stand for long. Now, at 75, he still talks about that studio, but more like a memory than a plan. Not because he lacks desire, but because, without realizing it, he ran out of window. That's the part most people don't tell you. Time isn't cruel, but it is indifferent. It won't stop for nostalgia. It won't circle back for your someday. The tragedy isn't just that dreams are lost, it's that we often let them expire quietly, while tending to everything and everyone else. So if there's something inside you, an apology, a passion, a place you long to see, a note you need to write, don't wait for the perfect timing. It's already here. Do it while your legs can still walk through the doorway, while your hands can still write the letter, while your eyes can still see the sunrise over a place that matters to you. You don't need to rush through life, but you do need to answer it while you still can. And health doesn't break all at once. It fades in whispers. If I could sit across from my younger self, maybe 55, maybe 60, I'd lean in and say this gently but firmly: your body is already speaking to you. The question is, are you listening? Most people think that poor health arrives like a storm, sudden, forceful, unmistakable, a heart attack, a bad diagnosis, a dramatic fall. But that's rarely how it happens. The The truth is far more subtle and more dangerous. It arrives in size and stiffness, in the way you start avoiding stairs without realizing, in the late-night indigestion that you laugh off, in the way sleep doesn't feel as restful and your energy seems to pack up earlier each day. These aren't nuisances, they're warnings, gentle ones. And if you don't answer, the body starts to shout. I had a patient, Helen. She was 64 when I first noticed her avoiding the longer hallway in the clinic. Said her knees just didn't feel like they used to. But she waved it off, kept pushing through, skipping her walks, relying more on her recliner than she admitted. By 70, the cartilage in her knees was gone. By 72, she used a walker, and one day, sitting in my office, she whispered through tears, I thought I had more time, and I had no words to comfort her. Because the truth is, she did. But time only serves those who act before things fall apart. Health in later life is not built on medication. It's built on maintenance, on movement, on awareness, on the small, unglamorous choices you make daily. What you eat, how you rest, how you stretch, what you ignore. And most importantly, how much you believe your body is still worth protecting. You don't need to overhaul your life. You don't need a gym membership or a green juice subscription. You just need to start treating your body like a garden again, something that can still bloom if tended, but will certainly wither if left alone. Water it, move it, nourish it, listen to it. Because the cruelest thing about declining health is not the pain, it's the regret. The knowing that you could have done more earlier when your body was still extending a hand and saying, help me, and I'll carry you further. So don't wait for the scream. Answer the whisper. Loneliness isn't about being alone. It's about being unseen. One of the most sobering things I've learned, both in my life and in the quiet admissions of my patients, is that you can be surrounded by people and still feel utterly invisible. I've sat at birthday parties with family all around and felt a silence inside my chest that no one else could hear. It's not that they didn't love me. Loneliness as we age is rarely about the number of chairs at the table. It's about the depth of the conversation. It's about whether anyone truly understands who you are beneath the surface. The stories, the fears, the quiet dreams you no longer voice out loud. And sadly, it's a kind of emptiness that sneaks in slowly. At first you don't even notice it. You stay busy, you make small talk, you smile at the right moments, but over time, if there's no one you can be fully real with, you begin to fade, not from the world's eyes, but from your own sense of connection. I remember my old neighbor Paul. He was always the life of the gathering, jokes, loud laughter, generous hugs. But after his wife passed, I saw something shift. He told me one afternoon, quietly, people still come around, but no one knows me anymore, not really. That sentence has never left me, because it reminded me of a truth so many carry in silence. Being liked is not the same as being understood. In your 50s and 60s, you might still have the energy to go to gatherings, attend church, join a book club. But if those interactions remain surface level, they won't sustain you in your 70s. Emotional muscles, just like physical ones, need use. And if you don't practice vulnerability, honesty, and presence now, it becomes harder to do later. Harder to find the words, harder to believe someone will listen. So I urge you, build your people now, not the kind who only ask, how are you, but the kind who lean in and say, no, really, how's your heart? Create space for those kinds of conversations, even if they start awkward. Because later in life, when the world gets quieter, you'll want at least one person who still remembers how your laugh sounds, who knows what keeps you up at night, and who sees you, even as your hair grays and your stories grow longer. Loneliness isn't just an empty room. It's an unseen soul. And the remedy is not crowds, It's connection. Real, honest, soul-deep connection. Start building it now. You'll need it more than you think. 4. Where your children will live their own lives, not the one you imagined. This truth is tender, and for many it hurts more than they care to admit. As parents, we pour our best years, our energy, and often our very identity into our children. We raise them, worry over them, sacrifice quietly for them, sometimes thinking, without saying it aloud, that one day they will orbit around us the way we once orbited around them. But that's not how life works, nor should it. Your children were never meant to be your second chance. They were meant to be free. And freedom often takes them far from your reach, not just in miles, but in values, in pace, in the way they live and love. That distance can feel like rejection. It isn't. It's just life moving forward. I've spoken with many patients over the years, especially in their 60s and 70s, who quietly admit a feeling of emptiness. Not because their children have done anything wrong, but because they placed all their meaning in being needed. They held on too tightly. They waited by the phone. They rearranged their lives for visits that never came. And slowly, quietly, they stopped living for themselves. I remember Marjorie, a devoted mother of 4, now living alone in a retirement community. One morning she looked out the window and told me, "I spent my entire life making sure they were okay, but somewhere along the way I forgot to ask if I was." Her children weren't ungrateful. They were simply busy building lives of their own, lives they had every right to pursue. And here's what I've come to understand. Our children do not owe us their time. What they do carry, though, is the memory of how we lived, and that matters more than we think. If they see us finding joy, embracing friendships, nurturing hobbies, caring for our health, they learn that aging doesn't mean shrinking into silence. It means continuing to live fully. So if you find yourself waiting for a visit, a call, an invitation, don't just sit in that ache. Let it move you, not into guilt, but into action. Reclaim your joy. Discover who you are outside of being a parent or a grandparent. Be someone your children can admire, not because you gave up your life for them, but because you kept living yours. Love them deeply. Cheer them on, but let them go. 5. The most precious moments in a relationship are the ones we overlook until they're gone. If you still have a spouse, a partner, someone you've shared decades with, pause for a moment. Think about how often you sit together in the same room, yet speak only in passing. Think about the dinners eaten in silence, the hugs skipped, the smiles not returned, not out of cruelty, but out of habit. You see, love doesn't disappear in an instant. It fades in comfort, in the assumption that there will always be more time to say I love you, more time to take that trip together, more time to apologize, to laugh, to hold hands. But what I've learned, what I've seen too many times, is that time doesn't wait for us to make space for intimacy. I think often of a man named Joseph. He lost his wife of 48 years to a sudden stroke. At her funeral, he stood beside me with his hand shaking and said, "I would give anything to go back and ask her how she really felt, just once more. I thought I knew, but now I'm not so sure." That sentence broke something in me, because I've heard it too many times, and I've seen the same expression on too many faces, the quiet devastation of realizing you had years together, but only lived them half awake. We assume the people we love know how we feel. We tell ourselves they're fine. We let the days pass, let frustrations pile up, and often, without realizing, stop looking each other in the eye. We coexist, but forget to connect. But here's the truth I've come to know. Love, especially long love, requires tending, not grand gestures, just daily awareness, a touch on the shoulder, a question asked with real interest, a shared story over tea, a compliment that you think but rarely say out loud. These are the moments that build a bridge back to each other. And in old age, when everything else is slowing down, these small gestures become sacred. If you've drifted apart, you're not alone. It happens, but it doesn't have to stay that way. The road back begins with one honest moment, one small act of presence, one willingness to turn toward, not away. And if you've lost the person you once shared your life with, please don't believe that love is over for you. The heart never runs out of capacity, only chances. But new chances still exist. Friendship, companionship, tenderness in a new form. Let yourself be open. Let yourself be seen again. Because in the end, what we remember are not the perfect years or the polished photos. We remember the ordinary days, made extraordinary by someone who truly looked at us. So don't wait. Look up, reach out, and make today count. If you've stayed with me this far, thank you. Truly, I didn't share these truths because I believe I've lived perfectly. Quite the opposite. I've made my share of mistakes, missed moments, postponed dreams, words I wish I'd said earlier. But the gift of growing older is clarity. You begin to see what really matters and what never did. And perhaps that's why I felt so strongly about sitting down and recording this for you. Not as a lecture, but as a kind of offering. From one traveler to another, a few steps ahead on the same path. The truth is, it's never too late to live with more tenderness, more intention, more connection. Whether you're 58 or 78, there's still room to shift, to soften, to begin again. You still have time. Not infinite, but meaningful. So maybe tonight you take a short walk instead of the usual scroll. Maybe you call someone and ask how they're really doing. Maybe you take your spouse's hand not because it's a habit, but because you remember what it meant. Maybe you pause long enough to listen to your body, your heart, your soul, and ask what they've been trying to tell you all along. Because life doesn't ask us to be perfect, it just asks us to be awake. Thank you for allowing me to share these thoughts with you. I hope they find a home in your heart. And if even one of them helps you live your days with more peace, more joy, or more connection, then this moment between us will have been well worth it. Take care of yourself. And don't forget, there's still so much ahead that's worth showing up for. Until next time.